Hey everyone, welcome to Seattle Coffee Gear. My name's John. Today we're going to be talking about long-term maintenance that you can do on your home espresso machine. This is the second part of our video series on maintenance. We already did a video on short-term daily maintenance things you can do for your espresso machine. This video is going to be focused on more long-term things to help your espresso machine run as happy as possible. Before we jump into these long-term maintenance tips, I had a thought, and that was about how we remind ourselves about maintenance. So I want to hear from you. What do you do for your own machine to remind yourself? Maybe it's a reminder on your phone or computer. Perhaps it's a piece of paper next to your espresso machine. Or maybe this video is a wake-up call that you need to do some long-term maintenance on your machine. I know I'm guilty of pushing it off or not doing it in a timely manner. So I'm sure there are other people in my boat, but we want to hear from all of you in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're always posting new content about machines, different grinders, all things coffee equipment, as well as maintenance videos like this. Let's go ahead and dive into our first tip. The first tip we're going to talk about is something that you can do every 2 to 3 weeks, or at the very least monthly. That's backflushing. Backflushing is the process of using a coffee-specific detergent in a blind portafilter basket or a basket that doesn't have any holes in it to allow hot water to dissolve that detergent and force it back through all the brew pathways of your machines, valves, or solenoids to break down all of that built-up coffee residue that develops over daily use. Even if you're using those tips that we talked about, like purging your brew group between uses and scrubbing it like I do, you're still going to get built up coffee residue over time. Backflushing goes further than those purges and scrubs to help clean out the inner brew pathways of your machine where more coffee oil and residue can build up. Depending on how much you use your machine, you might need to backflush every 2 to 3 weeks, or like I said, at the very least monthly. Our repair center has examples of what not backflushing can do to a machine. Like we talked about, purging and scrubbing your group gets to parts of the machine, but there's other parts that kind of cleaning doesn't get to. You can see on the back side of this shower screen from an E61 machine that there's all this coffee oil and residue and buildup on the back side of the screen that was caused by not backflushing and not letting that detergent break down all these oils. So let this be a good reminder of why you need to backflush, and don't let your machine ever get to this point. If you're noticing that no matter what you do, you can't get good espresso out of your machine, it's always tasting bitter, burnt, dirty, astringent, there's a pretty good chance it's just time to backflush your machine. Over time, those coffee residues and oils build up on the inside brew pathways of your machine, and every time you go to brew a new shot, that water passes by all of that old coffee that's had all the good stuff taken out of it, and all that old coffee is doing is contributing those off, bad tasting flavors to your fresh coffee that you're trying to brew. Backflushing also helps your machine work well. Those residues cause valves not to open and close properly, which can lead to leaking or just poor performance from your machine. We don't have enough time in this video to give you a tutorial on how to backflush, but thankfully we have loads of content about this very subject, and we'll link some of our videos in the description below. So if you need specific help on how to backflush, check the description of the video for that information. The last tip on our list today is changing your brew head gasket. Your brew head gasket is the piece of rubber or silicone that allows your portafilter to create a seal within the machine, and that allows pressure to build up inside that brew basket to produce the lovely espresso that we all enjoy so much. I asked my techs their opinion on how often you should change these gaskets, and they suggested changing a rubber gasket every 6 months. That rubber gasket might still be sealing and you might not be seeing any leaks, but over time, as your machine heats up and cools down, that rubber gasket is going to harden and become difficult to remove. Here's another example from our repair center, this time of a gasket that wasn't changed soon enough. You can see it's all kind of chewed up around the outside edges, meaning it's getting worn. This one isn't quite at the point where it would crack, but it's definitely getting there. I can feel some cracks developing around the edges of it. And that is really a warning sign that you really need to change your gasket, because if it cracks or fractures inside the group, it's a lot harder to remove it from the machine and get a clean mating surface for your new gasket. These rubber gaskets aren't expensive, and so it's pretty simple to keep a few on hand and just be on a 6-month schedule of taking those out and popping a new one in. It'll keep your machine happy, and it'll also prevent headaches for you from having a gasket crack or crumble and then having to get in there and scrape out all that old material. If you want a longer life out of your gasket, you could also look for a silicone gasket. We're big fans of the silicone gaskets from Cafe Works. They're another Pacific Northwest company that's really passionate about home espresso. We sell some of their options on our website. They also have options on their site. If you have questions about the right thickness of gasket to use with your E61 machine, chat with us or give us a call, and we will do our best to try and determine the right size for your machine. I will note that depending on the age of your machine or how recently you changed your gasket, you might have to buy more than one size to figure out what's the best fit for your machine in its current state. Before we wrap up this video, I want to include a little PS about longer term maintenance and professional tune-ups. First, I want to really clearly state that we do not advise descaling a machine like this at home. If you have a dual boiler, single boiler, or heat exchanger machine, do not try to descale it at home. First off, if you use the right water and follow our tips, there's a pretty good chance you won't need to descale your machine because you won't have mineral buildup that needs to be taken out. Secondly, descaling solutions are really corrosive, and it's extremely difficult to get them out of the insides of your machine. Too often, we get machines that people tried to descale at home and didn't get all of that descaling solution out of, and it completely destroyed the boiler. I'm sure there will be some comments on this video saying that it's totally fine to descale at home. But based on our professional advice and our experience with loads of espresso machines, the risk is just too great. Use good water, or if you don't want to do that, just realize you're going to have to take your machine in to be descaled every year or two. Beyond that, every 3 to 5 years, you can expect your machine to need a tune-up at a professional espresso tech. Oftentimes, this tune-up includes replacing wear parts like vacuum breakers that allow your steam boiler to seal and build pressure, as well as seals inside the E61 valve or some brew solenoids. Around this time, your tech can tell you if they see any scale buildup on your machine and give you recommendations about things you might be missing in your normal maintenance. Based on our experience and our repair center's experience, if you follow the tips that we've outlined in this video, there's a solid chance you're gonna have a long, happy life out of your home espresso machine. Well, that covers these long-term tips on how to keep your espresso machine healthy and happy. Do any of these things need to be clarified, or did this bring up more questions for you? Leave us a comment down below, and we might make another video on it if we get a lot of comments about a certain topic. If you're in the process of shopping for coffee equipment, or you're just looking for coffee advice, subscribing to our YouTube channel is a great way to hear about all the new content that we're posting. In the description of the video, there's also a link to sign up for our email newsletter. And if you sign up for that, you will get emails from us about sales, coffee advice, equipment advice, and all things Seattle coffee gear. As a thank you for signing up for that, we'll also email you a coupon for 10% off one item. There are some exclusions to that, so if you have any questions, please chat with us on the sales or support team. You can give us a call, send an email, or use that chat bubble on our website. As always, I hope you learned from this video. I hope it was helpful for you. I also hope you have a great rest of your day and keep making coffee you love.